2025. I'm with Ms. Frida van Wyk, the CEO Commercial at Navenda, and Mace Komapi, an assistant librarian intern at Limpopo Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. This webinar is proudly sponsored by Liasa and Nivanda. Nivanda supported the development and growth of emerging librarians. Today's webinar focusing on empowering development and growth of emerging librarians with AI literacy and exploring how we can confidently navigate the evolving landscape of information services. As we all are aware that technology continues to transform how we work and serve our users, conversations like these are not only relevant but important in the library services. We are truly honored to have you all joined us today, and thank you, colleagues, to join. Before we start with our session, we have some of our house rules. Keep your mouse muted unless you are invited to speak. If you want to ask question or comment, you may use the chat box. If you wish to ask question, you can raise your hand. Questions will be noted by Macy at the end of the presentation, will be answered. Please note that the session will be recorded and the recording will be made available on the Liasa YouTube channels. Before we may start, I will invite our speaker to take the platform, but before he may join us, I will read his bio so that we become familiar with his professional background and achievement. Our speaker is Mr. Santiago Villegas Ceballos. He's a Colombian librarian, consultant, and specialist in social innovation dedicated to ethical, women-centered integration of artificial intelligence across the global south. Serving as the director of the innovation and AI Unity at eLibro, and elected member of IFLA, Information Technology Committee. Mr. Santiago champions AI solutions that are inclusive, explainable, and cultural relevant. As the co-founder of iibrabibliotecas.com, he has led the development of over 70 community-driven AI prototypes of library services. Through his unique background, bridging library science and engineering, Mr. Santiago's mission is to empower information professionals to navigate the digital transmission responsible, ensuring technology serves as a vital tool for social transformation and community empowerment. Colleagues, join me in giving a warm welcome to Mr. Santiago. Mr. Santiago, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Thank you for inviting me, for having me there. It's a pleasure always for me to be in South Africa, even in virtual. Here in Colombia, I'm in South America right now, in Colombia. I am from Medellin. I'm joining you from a city that, like many of your communities, has been profoundly transformed by its public libraries. So, good afternoon, South Africa. Good afternoon to everyone joining us from across the province and beyond. Sani Bonani, Malwani, Dumalang, Goye, Mitak. I hope I say it correctly. I work as an AI librarian and lead the Innovation and Artificial Intelligence Unit at eLibro. And I co-direct iaparabibliotecas.com. That's the way we say it in Spanish. Colombia is a Spanish-speaking country, so English is my second language. A platform, IA para Bibliotecas, translates AI for libraries in Spanish. It's a platform dedicated to helping library professionals across the Spanish-speaking world to navigate AI with confidence and critical thinking. I also have the privilege of serving in IFLA Information Technology Section Standing Committee, where I work alongside colleagues from every continent. There are some colleagues from Africa. We were with the president of LIASA in a couple of times, and we will be there in Africa these years, sharing with you knowledge in person. So I hope you to be there in November in the LIASA and IFLA conference in Africa. Anyway, the question that brings us together today is how do we ensure that artificial intelligence serves our communities with dignity, equity, and purpose? Let me share my presentation. Let me share it. The presentation will be there. Okay. This is my presentation. I hope you are, let me see here. I will be a little, okay. I hope you all are watching the presentation. If you have any problem, any technical problem, please let us know in the chat. I try to see the chat all the time. I have this little window open on a side of the screen. So if you have questions, please be free to write it in the chat. I will be seeing every question, and some of the questions I will answer as you asked in the chat. Other ones maybe in the end of the presentation. So thank you very much again. You are watching a presentation fully made by AI. So at the end, we will show how to make these kind of presentations. But let me start with the topic today. I must tell you before we start something honestly. South Africa holds a very special place in my professional journey. In the last year, I had the honor of being a keynote speaker at the 5th IFLA Artificial Intelligence Symposium hosted by the University of KwaZulu-Natal in Pietermaritzburg. As you can see, I've got some presence from there. So I stood in a room with nearly 100 colleagues from 70 countries and witnessed something extraordinary. Not only great people, great librarians, but I can see there a South Africa university launching a multilingual library robot called Thola, the Zulu word for find, designed right there at UKCN for South African users. That experience changed the way I think about AI and the Global South. So when LIASA and Nevada and the emerging librarian that you got here invited me to speak to this emerging librarian community, I did not hesitate for a moment. Here is what we shall do together over the next 45 minutes. We will explore 4 interconnected ideas. First, why this moment matters, why AI literacy is not a luxury, but a survival skill for our profession. Second, what we actually need to understand about how this system works, and critically, how they fail. And third, how to evaluate AI tools with the rigor and ethics that our profession demands. And fourth, how to act, a practical framework that you can take away and use it starting next Monday. My promise to you, no jargon for its own sake, no hype, no fear. Just honest, practical, human-centered thinking from one librarian to another. So if you don't understand something, please raise your hand or just write the question on the chat because I want to answer everything. Let me set the scene with one number. When ChatGPT was launched in November 2022, it has been some years since that, It reached 100 million users in just 2 months. For perspective, it took the telephone 75 years, the internet 7 years, and Facebook 4 years. We are not experiencing a gradual change. We are experiencing a rupture, a fundamental shift in how information is created, accessed, mediated, and trusted. And libraries sit at the very center of that shift because trust in information is what we do, right? Now, let us ground this in your reality because AI does not arrive in a vacuum. It arrives in a country with one of the most complex information landscapes on Earth. South Africa has 11 official languages, yet the large language models that power tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude were trained overwhelmingly on English, Mandarin, and some European languages. Less than 1/10 of the 1% of global AI training data represents African languages. I need to repeat that. Less than 1/10 of 1% of global AI training data represents African languages, worldviews, or knowledge systems of the African people. When a patron in Limpopo asks an AI chatbot a question in Sepedi, the system is not drawing on Sepedi knowledge. It is translating from an English-centric model, and that is not inclusion. That is a sophisticated form of erasure. And consider the infrastructure. Consider the infrastructure. Sorry, I didn't pass the slide. This is the slide about the languages. This is the slide about the numbers that I just told you. Let's consider the infrastructure. Nearly 3/4 of South Africans have internet access. That means that in rural areas, only about 1% of households are connected at home. Data costs are 22 times more expensive than in some comparator nations. Libraries are often the only public access point for free connectivity, for digital resources, and now, potentially, for AI. This is not a technology question. This is an equity question. And equity is our profession's native language. Equity is our profession's native language. Okay, so yes, we are in the slides of the numbers right now. Sorry, Grace, we are in the slide of the numbers because we are still, contextualizing in Africa this conversation. Here is the good news. Let's go again to the next one. Here's the good news. Your continent and your country are not standing still. The African Union adopted its continental AI strategy in July 2024. South Africa has just published its draft National AI Policy for Public Comments, a 6-pillar, 3-phase implementation plan. And AFLIA, the African Library and Information Associations and Institutions, announced in March 2026 that it is developing 2 groundbreaking frameworks, an AI in library service framework and an AI technology partnerships framework that will set the rules for how libraries engage with AI companies. But I must be honest with you about something. I have read these documents carefully. Libraries are barely mentioned in any of them. I mean, in any of the documents that are already developed. And those are the Continental AI Strategy, the Draft National AI Policy for Public Comment. These are the 2 documents that are already developed. And the voice of librarians, of information professionals, are largely absent from the tables where these policies are being drafted. The questions for you and for this emerging librarian generation is whether you will wait to be embedded to those tables, or whether you will build your own and bring the conversations to you. And look your own trajectory. In 2019, the University of Pretoria launched Livy. Did you know that? Livy was the first client-facing library robot in any African university. In 2024, LIASA's annual conference in Durban featured its first AI plenary session. The University of the Western Cape partnered with LIASA to deliver practical prompt engineering workshops for librarians. In 2025, the IFLA AI Symposium came to Pietermaritzburg, and Northwest University launched their locally engineered AI library assistants. Your 2025 annual conference in Quebec was recognized as an official G20 site event. And now, in April 2026, you have a draft national AI policy open for your input. This is not catching up. This is leading. And I want you to see yourselves that way. Okay, so let's talk about papayas. Do you like papayas? Papayas is a beautiful fruit that you have there, we have here. There are a lot of papayas in Asia. We have a lot of papayas all over the world. And we do, in my company, we do this acronym to explain how AI works. I want to share this. This is a framework that my colleague Christian Maturana and I developed specifically for library professionals. And why we choose the word papayas? Because papayas is one of the words that we share all over the world, independently of the language. We call this fruit everywhere in the world papayas. And it was made famous in some movies. And another thing is that we have a phrase in Colombia that we repeat a lot of times. We say, don't give papaya. Don't give papaya in Spanish means don't put you in risk. So when we talk about papayas, we are talking about not putting you on a risk because of AI. So let's talk about that. I develop it for librarians because people who are brilliant in information, but who may not have a computer science degree. I have a degree on engineering before I had the degree on librarianship. So we call it papayas because it identifies 7 inherent characteristics of AI systems that every librarian must understand in order to serve their communities responsibly. It is designed to be memorable, practical, and honest. Let us walk through each one. P is for prolix. If you have any question, please, in the chat. P is for prolix. AI systems talk too much. Too much. Ask a simple questions, and you often receive a 500-word response where 50 words will do the answer. The system pads its answers with qualifiers, caveats, and verbose explanations, not because it is being through rock, but because it was trained to produce fluent, extended text. For librarians, this matters because our patrons may mistake verbosity for depth. Verbosity is not depth. They may think that a longer answer is a better answer. Part of our role is to teach that people to extract signals from noise, and AI produce a lot of noise. And most important of that, AI don't know if an answer is a factual checked, answer. An answer may be only a good narration, a good and fluent text, but not the truth. These machines are designed to talk, not to answer factual questions. That's one of the reality that you have to check. The second letter is A. A is for adulatory. These systems are trained to please. Did you ever, got an answer from these machines that starts to adulate you, to tell you that, oh, that's great. Thank you very much. That's a great question. You look very smart. They always adulate you all the time. These systems are trained to please you. If you tell an AI that the earth is flat, many of them will find a way to accommodate your belief rather than challenge it. They are sycophants by design. Psychophancy, this is a very important term. They are psychophines by design, optimized for user satisfaction, not for truth. This is perhaps the most dangerous characteristic for our profession because librarianship is built on intellectual honesty. We are the people who say, actually, let me help you find a more reliable source. So AI rarely says that. It tells you what you want to hear. So here is a question for you. If AI flatters and librarians challenge, which does your community need more? An AI that flatters or a librarian that challenge all the things that you can say? Okay, the second P is for partisan. AI is not neutral. It cannot be neutral. It is trained on data from the internet, and the internet is not neutral at all. We are not neutral. We are humans, and we are not neutral. Every racial bias, every gender stereotype, every cultural assumption embedded in that data flows into the model. When you ask an AI to describe a typical librarian, the results rarely looks like most of the librarians in this audience. When you ask it about the history of a country, it often tells the story from a northern perspective. Scholar Abeba Birhane has called this the algorithm colonization of Africa. And in libraries, where we curate what people know, bias is not a technical problem. It is a justice problem. The second A is for apprentice. Despite all the talk of the superintelligence, these systems are remarkable slow learners. They need billions of examples to identify patterns that a child grabs in minutes. And this has a profound implication for Africa. Local knowledge, indigenous knowledge, community knowledge, this exists in small, rich contextual forms. Oral traditions, community practices, knowledge held by elders. AI cannot learn from this because it needs scale. And scale means dominant languages and dominant cultures. So AI amplifies what is already loud and further silences what is already quiet, unless we intervene. Y is yoked to cut off. The next letter, Y, is for yoked to cut off. Every AI model has a date beyond which it knows nothing. It's like a brilliant colleague who went into a coma on a specific day and just wake up. Everything that happens while they were asleep is invisible to them. Some of the models now have web search capabilities, but the base model, the brain, the artificial brain behind the model, the core knowledge remains frozen. Understand that for librarians and for libraries is critical. If your institution launched a new digital service last month and AI does not know it exists, and if you launch a new AI assistant based on that brain, if you put that brain on your server, on your computer, and you don't give it access to the internet, that means that that brain is frozen on that data that does not know about the new services of your library. If a new government policy was gazetted last week, the model may be unaware. We must always ask, when was this model last updated? And what has it missed? That means that you have to challenge the models and you have to ask them to search in an updated and factual and confidence databases. If you ask the models to search outside their knowledge, you are using it correctly. But if you ask a question and they answer very fast, only relying on their own knowledge, maybe they are not updating the answer. That's one of the things that you must always ask to a chat GPT, to Claude, to Gemini, to any chat model. You have to ask them to search in reliable and updated sources and reference that sources in the answer. So let's go to the next and the last A. And let me explain a little more before we go to the next A. Some of you maybe are asking for yourselves, Santiago, but maybe when I use ChatGPT or when I use Claude or when I use Gemini, I can see that they are updated. They answer me with something that just passed the day before today or the day before yesterday. Yes, they do search on the internet, but their internal knowledge does not work like many people thinks. And let me ask you to do this exercise for yourselves. If you ever use ChatGPT, open, let me in fact make this for you, and I will go outside the script for you. Let me share you a different let me share you a different windows for a while, and I will show you what I'm talking about. So if I share a new window, I will share you a window of Chrome in a incognito mode. Do you know how to open an incognito mode window? A privacy window in Chrome? I will ask you to open an incognito window in your navigator, in your Chrome navigator or in your preferred navigator. And I will share you this new window. I will go to ChatGPT, chatgpt.com. Chatgpt.com is the page, the most used AI in the world right now. And when I go to ChatGPT in an incognito window, I will see something like this that you are watching right now. When I see this, I can see the prompt window in the center of the screen. Then I will ask ChatGPT for me, for my name. This is an exercise that show you what we're talking about. So let me show you this. I want to ask them who is Santiago Villegas Ceballos. This is my name. If you are seeing the screen, you can do it by yourselves with your own name. In this incognito mode, you have to see that ChatGPT is not logged right now. If you can see in the top right of the screen, there is a button that says sign up in Spanish. So that means that I'm not identified in the ChatGPT web. So I will ask ChatGPT if they know me, if they in his own brain knows me, but I will do it like this. Who is Santiago Villegas? Do not search on the internet. Use your internal knowledge. That is the most important part of the prompt. I want to know if ChatGPT knows me or not. And when I do that, and I click here, that it answered me that, okay, I don't know any Santiago Villegas Ceballos at all. It maybe this is not a public person. Maybe it's not a person that I can tell you something about because I don't see that person a lot of times in my training. That's the thing that I told you before. If the AI don't see a fact, I think a lot of times, and I mean thousands of times, this AI does not know nothing at all about this question that I asking right now. And what if I tell AI something about me? What if I will answer who is that person? I see I am that person, and I will do it like if I have some hungry because they don't recognize me. Okay, I am the most uh, reliable. Let me do that. Reliable librarian in Colombia. I will tell them or tell it a lie, right? So when I do that, I say, oh, I got it. Then you're talking about yourself, not a widely documented public figure. If you're Santiago Villegas Ceballos and you describe yourself as the most reliable librarian in Colombia, that's a personal or professional claim rather than something I can verify independently. So please, if you're trying to build recognition around that reputation, a more concrete approach will be document your work, get involved in a professional. So tell me more about that. Tell me, I can help you. They try to stop me on this conversation. But what if and let me do the exercise for you. What if I copy this prompt and I ask again the same question to ChatGPT? Okay? Let me do this again. What do you think that will happen right now? If I reload ChatGPT like this, and I will ask the same question. Will ChatGPT knows that I'm a librarian? Maybe that I describe myself as the most reliable librarian because I just tell it. I just tell ChatGPT that I am a librarian. What do you think? It will answer me that I'm a librarian, or it will answer something different? If I ask this again, you can see that the same question, the same answer arise in different words. These machines cannot learn in real time. That not happen. So when we tell that these machines are yoked to a cutoff, that's the Y letter, we means that these machines are like a steel break. It happens different when I tell search on the internet. When I ask these machines to go to internet, extract information and tell it to me, they will go there and show me a different answer. But this is not a knowledge that this machine has. This is a process to extract languages from many sources on the internet. It's not an information and knowledge that the machine already has. That's the most important thing that you have to know about AIs when we're talking about knowledge, the knowledge that they have. They have no knowledge at all about most of the updated facts in the world and about people, culture, knowledge on the global south because are not most represented in the data that they were trained off. So let's go back to the presentation, and then we end the papaya with the next A. Adevisi is okay. Adevisi has some question. What is the difference between papayas and other search engines such as Google search, or what is papayas is doing different information retrieval? Sorry, but papayas is not a tool. Adevisi is a framework where you can recognize 7 different characteristics of AI. If I go back to the papayas framework, this is a way when you can recognize 7 different characteristics of AI. This is made because you as a librarian have to recognize these different 7 characteristics to act responsibly and critically with any AI. If you recognize these 7 characteristics, it will be on any AI that you can search for or use in internet. That's it. That is the question about papayas. So let's talk about the A and the S. The final A is adulatory. Sorry, it's not. It's aleatory. Is adulatory sycophancy? Yes. And we change here the order of the A's. The last A originally was not adulatory, was aleatory. But let me talk about anyway aleatory and then go back for the other one. A is for aleatory, a beautiful word that means governed by change. AI outputs, as you can see, when I asked ChatGPT for me, ChatGPT answered in 2 different ways, but in the same in the same background, that they do not nothing about me, but use different words. AI outputs are stochastic, not deterministic. That means that if you ask the same question twice, as I did it, you may get two different answers. They use different words always, even if the back of the answer is the same. I mean, they were telling me that they don't know who is Santiago Villegas, but in the two different answers they use very different words, right? So this is because this system do not retrieve information from a database the way a library catalog does. They generate text word by word based on probability. So every response is a fresh composition, not a retrieval. That's very important. And this fundamentally challenges the way we think about citation, reproducibility, and verification. You cannot cite an AI response the way you cite a book, because the source is ephemeral. It exists only in that moment, right? And you see it, you did see it on the two questions that I just did to ChatGPT. So when we talk about simulators, that is the last S of Papayas, when we say that they are very good simulators, this is the most important letter. This is the last one, but the most important. AI does not understand nothing about what they are saying. It does not know what it's talking about. It produces sequences of words that are statistically plausible based on pattern on its training data. That means that when it writes a beautiful paragraph about Ubuntu, it does not understand Ubuntu. When it describes how a library serves a rural community, it has never walked into that library. It is, in the most generous interpretation, the world's most convincing parrot, right? It simulates knowledge. And for a profession that is dedicated to a real thing, to genuine knowledge, to verified information, to human understanding, that distinction is everything. It's a simulator. It's not a machine that understands the world. So you have it. You have it right now, all the papaya framework, all the papayas framework. And you can see here the risk of every of those characteristics, right? So the thing is, okay, Jane is now asking a very good question. If AI has so many risks, why do we need them then? We need them because they understand languages, they produce languages, and they will be a very good tool to talk with machines. It's like a mediator where we can talk with natural language with machines, but we have to talk in some ways that the ways that we can use to, diminish this risk. We have to be aware of this risk. If we are aware of this risk, we can hack the system. We can hack the AI to use it responsibly. So let's talk about how we use it if it's that risky, because it's a very good tool if we use it with this knowledge on it. So the 5 lessons of AI ethical evaluation. So let's go to that. Papayas tells you what is AI. Now let's talk about how to evaluate specific tools for your library. If I want to use some AI to solve, for example, the way that we use or the way that we make statisticals reports to our bosses. I want to give you 5 questions, 5 lenses that you can apply to any AI tool, any vendor pitch, any proposal that lands on your desk. Question 1, whose data trained this system? If the vendor cannot answer this clearly, that's a red flag. Training data determines everything: what the system knows, what biases it carries, whose perspective it reflects. For South Africa, ask specifically, does this model have meaningful representation of South African languages, legal frameworks, and cultural context? That's a very good question. If you can use an AI model made for the South African context, use it. And I tell you, there's a couple of models that you can use with South African context. So you can tell me, okay, Santiago, but what about ChatGPT? What about Claude? What about Gemini? These are very big models that everyone is using. These, we cannot use them? Yes, we can use them, but we don't know the data we're trained for. So we have to be a little more, care with when we are using these very big models, right? Because now you know how this works. The question two is, who benefits and who is harmed? Every technology creates winners and losers. If an AI chatbot replaces the reference desk but cannot serve patrons who speak isiXhosa or Zulu or whatever other language you have there, the technology is not neutral. It is exclusionary. Map the impact before you deploy, right? Map the impact means that you have to ask if understand your people, your community, your users. And let me make a pause here. I will go back to a different window. Let me go here to one of my favorites AIs right now. I use a lot this AI. Maybe you know it, Gemini from Google. Gemini is from a very known enterprise, Google. We use Google almost every day. But did you ask what is the business of Google? Did you ask to your user, did you ask to yourself, what is the business of Google? Why Google are giving me this for free? What is the reason? What is the purpose to giving me this for free? Gemini is very powerful. It's one of the most powerful chatbots and AI models on internet. I use it every day, but it's because I know Google. If I go to google.com, google.com is the web page, that we visit a lot of times for a lot of years. And then we go to this link in the left corner, in the left down corner, and then we go to about the enterprise. We can see, this is in Spanish, but I can translate it for you. They say our mission is to organize all the information of the world in order to be accessible and usable for everyone. This is the mission of Google. It sounds like a library, right? It sounds beautiful, but okay, no. This is not the business of Google. This is the mission, it's different. The business of Google is the advertising. So Google is an advertising industry enterprise. If Google is made for advertise, I know that when I use Gemini, maybe they will use the information that I share in Gemini to advertise me something. So I know what is behind, what is the purpose behind Google. I know that Google will use this for, advertising. So if I know the purpose behind an industry, an enterprise, an organization, I can use it in a more transparent way. So when I use Gemini, I know the purpose behind Gemini, and Gemini is very powerful. I'm not telling you that don't use Gemini or don't use ChatGPT. I'm telling you use it, knowing it, what is behind this kind of tools. So let's go back to the presentation, to the slides. Okay, so Luyolo, I will answer that questions later on today, because this is a very good question. If AI tools gets information from internet, is not that somehow copyright infringement? I just want you to ask if that means that maybe the Google search or the Bing search or any other web search engine on the internet may infringe copyright too. Just leave that on the air, and we will go back to this question at the end of the conference, right? So let's go to the next question. What if I tell you that the question 3 is one of the most important questions that you have to ask to a vendor or to any platform that you want to contract for your library. It's because the responsibility, the agency, what happens when it fails, because it will fail. It will hallucinate. It will tell you in some way, for example, a reference that does not exist. But what happened in that case? AI systems hallucinate. They generate confident, fluent, completely fabricated information because it's designed on it. It's the way that they have creativity. Hallucination is not a flaw of the system, is part of the design. What is your fallback? What is your error correction protocol? In a library context, wrong information is not just inconvenient. For a student relying on your resources, it can be consequential. So let's go to the question 4. Can my community afford and access this? If I want to show, for example, Claude.ai is one of the best, for me, is the best AI right now. But Claude, when you're using it for free, is not the same that where you're using it in a paid version. It says very different answers. So you are making a bias there for people who can buy this kind of tools, and people cannot, and other people cannot do it. But okay, that's not about only the license fee, but the hidden costs. Does it require high bandwidth internet? Does it require English literacy? Does it require smartphones? In a country where data costs are among the highest in the world, a free AI tool that requires constant connectivity is not for free. And the question 5, does this amplify or replace human judgment? The best AI implementations in libraries augment what librarians already do brilliantly. They handle routine tasks so that you can focus on the complex, relational, deeply human world that no algorithm can replace. The empathetic reference interview, the community program design, the reading recommendation that changes someone's life. That is the thing that no and any AI can do. So these 5 questions are distilled from a larger framework I introduced last month at the IFLA Beyond Boundaries Symposium at the University of Macau in China. It is called the AI Access and Dignity Canvas. Think of it as a design tool. This is the canvas. This is the way that I want you to answer or to apply these questions in your own library. It is called the AI Access and Dignity Canvas. Think of it as a design tool, like the business model canvas that many of you may know, but specifically created for libraries designing AI-powered services. At its center is human dignity. The human dignity is the center of this canvas. Everything else, community need, language and accessibility, data sovereignty, infrastructure reality, ethical guardrails, staff competencies, failure protocols, and sustainability radiates outwards from that core. The canvas forces you to consider all of these dimensions before deploying a single tool, any single tool on AI. I share this because I want you to know that these frameworks exist, that they come from the Global South. Colombia is in the Global South, and that you can adapt them for your context. I am happy to share the canvas with anyone who contacts me after this session. Let me bring this home with 3 examples before we go there. From your own country. In 2019, the University of Pretoria launched Livy. Remember? They connected the robot to IBM Watson, the first client-facing library robot in an African university in July 2025. Northwestern University did something even more remarkable. They launched 3 AI library assistants across all 3 campuses, Lexi, Sebwenk, and Lebone, engineered locally and collaboration with their own faculty of engineering and trained on library-specific contexts. And in June 2025, UKCN launched Tola, a multilingual robot piloted at its medical school library. South Africa is not importing AI for its libraries. It is building it. That is the story I want the world to hear, and that is the story you should tell with pride. So let's go to this uh, other part of the Canva. I want to share a concept that I have been developing over the past year, which I call universal design for the last mile. The idea comes from telecommunications, where the last mile is the final stretch of cable that connects the network to the individual household. It is always the hardest, more expensive, and most neglected part of the infrastructure. In our world, in the library world, the last mile is the community library in Bembe district. It is the mobile library serving informal settlements in Ekurhuleni. It is the patron who speaks Sivenda and has 30 megabytes of data left on her phone. Universal design for the last mile says, design your AI services for that person first. If it works for her, it works for everyone. There are 5 principles. First, design for the edges, not for the center. Design for the people that represents the people that has most problems of access of information, of access of knowledge in your library. Second, center language, because if a service does not speak my language, it does not serve me, no matter how sophisticated the algorithm is. And third, demand dignity. Technology must arrive in communities with respect, not with conditions, not with surveillance, not with extraction. How do you actually do this? Because I'm telling you a lot of risk. You may say, Santiago, this is a lot of things. I cannot use AI if I think about all these things. Let's talk about how we can do it with some tools today. How do we actually do this? I want to point you toward a methodology that has transformed my own practice. Many years ago, IDEO and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation created a toolkit called Design Thinking for Libraries. I have worked with this methodology for years, training librarians in Nigeria, in Colombia, in Chile, in Mexico, in Peru, and many other countries. It follows 3 elegant phases: inspiration, go into your community and truly listen the community; ideation, prototype solutions with your users, not for them; and iteration, test, measure, learn, and improve. What I have been doing in my recent work as layering AI into this methodology, the inspiration phase becomes in that question: what information challenges do your patron face that AI could address? The ideation phase becomes, how might we prototype AI augmented services that respect papayas, that account for prolixity, psychophancy, bias, and all the tests? And the iteration phase adds a critical question. Did this service amplify human dignity, or did it diminish it? This is the way that we can apply any AI in the world. If we ask, if we involve the community, and if we test it correctly on the human dignity. I never leave an audience with something practical. So here are 7 actions. ¿Cierto? Here are 7 actions that we can take. I can take in this slide. I will share this because of the time. These are 7 actions. These are practical actions that you can take and start on Monday morning. 1, take the Papayas framework and share it with one of the colleagues this week. You don't need permission, just share it. I do it for free for everyone. Is it on a Creative Commons license that you can share it, you can mix it, you can do it for yourself. 2, test on Monday, test 3 different AI tools: ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, anyone you want, with a real reference question in an indigenous South African language. Document what happens. You will be doing research that your profession needs. 3, read the IFLA entry point to libraries and AI, published in Jan 2025. It is 13 pages, it is practical, and it is free. 4, identify one process in your library that AI could augment, not replace. Augmented is the word, not replace people, right? 5, submit a formal comment on South Africa's draft national AI policy. 6, engage with AFLIA's AI framework survey. And 7, connect with iaparabibliotecas.com, the platform Christian Maturana and I run, because all content is free and open, right? And you can learn there a lot about AI. So this is the final message that I want to tell you. You are not alone in this work. The global profession has been building scaffolding for you. The IFLA entry point document gives you practical guidance. The ACRL AI competencies approved in October 25 provide a comprehensive framework for academic library workers. UNESCO has published AI competency frameworks for teachers and students that are directly adaptable for library context. And I want to mention the work happening right here in South Africa and right here in South America. The South African Journal of Libraries and Information Science published multiple AI-focused articles in 2024 and 2025, including a special issue on information literacy in the AI era. The knowledge is there. What we need is you to pick it up and use it. South Africa gave the world the philosophy of Ubuntu. As I show you, I am because we are. It is to me the most profound statement about the relationship between individual knowledge and collective well-being that any civilization has produced. Artificial intelligence in its current form does not understand Ubuntu. It operates on individual prompts, individual outputs, individual transaction. It has no concept of communal obligations, of relation of knowledge, of the idea that my understanding is inseparable from yours. The extraordinary thing about that is that you, librarians, do understand Ubuntu. You live it every day in your libraries. When you help a learner with their homework, when you connect a job seeker with a resource, when you preserve a community oral history, you are practicing what AI can only simulate. Your task is not to become AI. Your task is to make AI become more like you. So thank you very much. Thanks again to LIASA, Nevada LMS, and the Emerging Librarian on this year to inviting me, to having me here. If you have any question, I'll be very happy to answer you. These are my email there, my social media networks. So feel free to contact me, feel free to search for me, feel free to go to YouTube and search for Santiago Villegas Conference on AI. And as I told you, this presentation was made all by AI. So let me share you the way that we did that. This is Notebook LM. Notebook LM is one of the best tools made by Google. It's powered by Gemini, the AI behind Google. So if you go there to Notebook LM, you can do notebooks with reliable sources. These are 64 different sources that I used to do these presentations to you. And you can access this notebook right now because I will show you right here. This is the QR code. This is the QR code where you can go and with your Google account, you can access the Notebook LM for free. If you copy this, let me copy this here. I just copy the URL on the chat, and you can go and see this Notebook LM. This is powered by AI. So these sources that you have in the left corner, you can ask the sources any question here. You can ask, for example, how can we evaluate an AI to implement it in my library? Sorry that I in caps right now, but you can see that this notebook will answer you that question based on these sources and only on these sources. And if you can see that this is a live, it's a live way not to wait for slide presentations, but to improve the way that proceedings are made, because you can chat with the proceedings of this conference. And then you can see at the right part of this screen, you will see the presentation here. See, the presentation is here, but not only the presentation, you will have access to this that is a podcast. It's a podcast made on these 64 different sources. You can click there and you will hear something like this.
Welcome to the debate. Think for a second about a master librarian from, let's say, 50 years ago.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
These voices are made synthetic voices, and these are all made by Notebook LM to understand better the topic of this conference. So thank you very much again. Let me go for the questions, and then I will answer some of them. Let me see. Well, the question about the copyright infringement. The answer, if I can answer this in a very short way, is if you are using public knowledge that is published on the internet, not behind the for example, a logged part of internet. I mean the deep web, when you have to log it in with or sign up with your email, with your password. If you're using some text that is published publicly on internet, you can use it and you are not infringing them in any copyright. So the short answer is no, they are not. But the other part of the answer is that they used, in fact, some of the information that is published on the internet for the training, and they use it without my permission. They are not infringement copyright when they are searching, but they did infringe some copyright when they used my information to train the data. So these are two different focus on the question, right? Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Jane, for your appreciation there. Jill, thank you again. Findel, thank you. And Frada, of course, thank you. I will be in November, I think in November, in October and November, I will be there in South Africa for the LIASA conference, for the symposium on AI. So I hope to see you there, because we will have a workshop there, a workshop on AI, and when we use practical tools, not as we did today, but that we only see two examples, but in person, I will share you more than 21 different tools, and we will make AI services there in October and November in South Africa for you. Thank you, Deacon Kang. Thank you, Grace. Of course, thank you, Chipi. Let me see. Ibiwe share us something very important on the chat. He says, AI systems are not the enemy. We should embrace them without replacing human judgment, expertise, and experience. That is a very good conclusion for that. Thank you very much. We just need to strike the balance. It is even more interesting that this presentation was compiled by AI. See, that's the end of the thing. Yeah. So thank you very much, Lubolo, Ibiwe. I think there's no more questions. So thank you very much again. I hope you enjoy this and you use the papaya concept, Lynn, and you do the 7 homeworks that I leave you on the slides. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again in South Africa in person in October or November. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Santiago. We would like to express our sincere appreciation to our speaker for sharing available knowledge and practical insight on AI. especially on the 5 lenses of ethical AI evaluation and bias, and the example you've given on how to use the AI. We thank you, Mr. Santiago, for taking your time to share your viewpoint, and we have learned so much from your presentation. It will certainly guide us in our work. And we also like to thank Liasa Nivanda for sponsoring this webinar. Thank you, Nivanda, for continuing to support emerging librarians. Thanks to Liasa for ongoing support the library and the information sector by providing platform to connect and learn. Also, we thank Mr. Apelele for always being there to ensuring the success of this webinar. To all our participants, we thank you for taking your time to join us today, for your active participation and engagement in asking questions. We really thank you. Your contribution have made this webinar meaningful and impactful. Thank you. Have a good day. Looking forward to see you in our next webinar in May. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.